It is Taste of Country Nights with Evan Paul on demand, season 2, episode 24 with Darius Rucker. I heard you're a big Kiss fan, right?
Doc McGee managed me and Kiss for 20 years, and so I've got to hang out. Gene never calls me Darius; he always calls me Old Man River, and he sings it, "Old Man River."
Why?
Because he says I'm a crooner. You're a crooner, man. You're a crooner.
I tell you what, man, anytime Darius Rucker stops by the show, it's always a good time. Thank you so much for checking out Taste of Country Nights on demand. Some of our past episodes are available if you want to listen. Jelly Roll just stopped by. You can check that out at tasteofcountry.com. Luke Combs, Thomas Rhett was our special guest not too long ago. All of our podcasts are on demand. Just search for Taste of Country Nights on demand wherever you get your podcasts. What's up, dude?
How you doing?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm good, E. I'm good.
Good, man. Hey, can you tell me the story behind the meaning of the song, Never Been Over?
That song is funny to me because so many people are getting different things from it. You know, it's some people take it as a love song, some people take it as a breakup song. I guess it's according to where you are in your world where that is. So I'm gonna let them figure that out.
How was it singing with Jennifer Nettles? Because you guys are two powerful vocalists. Was it hard?
No, man. Ever since I knew it would be great when she said yes, she would do it. When they said she was brought up in the meeting, I was like, she would kill it. And because ever since the first time I was riding down the road in my car and that song came on, and I went, I don't know who this person is, but I want to sing with this person because that's incredible. And years later now, I'm finally going to do it. It's pretty awesome.
When did you meet her?
Oh, years ago. I've known Jennifer a long time. Just through award shows and hanging out at different things. We've been friends a long time.
Okay. You got that memoir coming out. Dude, I got to tell you, man, I haven't read a book since I read The Secret Garden in 6th grade. I skimmed through a couple chapters, man. I was into it, man. I picked out a couple chapters. I read through, man. I want to talk about I Want to Hold Your Hand. It ends obviously with this. It's a story about your brother Ricky. It still feels like you have some pretty mixed emotions about your brother. How does that affect you today?
Oh, I've had a lot of therapy and stuff, so I've learned to deal with a bunch of that stuff. But I had my brother. I had some real bad feelings toward my brother, and because he chose to live, I still say he chose to live the life he lived. He had every opportunity to be successful and chose not to be, and that just for me was unacceptable. And so, him living the way he lived and it affecting our lives the way it did kind of sucked. And so, but now I look back and there were moments where Rick and I had great moments, but most of them were pretty bad. So That's life.
What made you decide okay, I'm going to do a memoir now?
I've been getting asked to do it for so long, and finally Harper came to me a few years ago, and we started talking, and they talked me into it.
Did you learn anything about yourself when you're writing?
Tons.
Really?
Tons. I'll something that's actually, I joked about therapy that actually brought up. I didn't know how much not having my dad bothered me until I wrote the book.
Oh, wow.
I really, because you just breeze through it and you don't think about it. Life just happens and you don't sit down and think about it. And when I was writing the book, I realized how much it affected me.
Wow. Okay. What part of the book will surprise fans? I mean, I was surprised just by what I read, but what do you think, your fans directly?
I think Hootie and the Blowfish had the reputation of being the boys next door. I think that how hard we partied will probably surprise a few people, but then they'll think the rock stars partied, big deal.
Right. Yeah.
But I think some people will be surprised by that. I think the childhood stuff, it was I was so honest with that stuff that I think that'll be surprising.
Would you say that was the hardest to summarize on paper?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Okay. Definitely. Even when I was reading the audiobook and it still brought up emotions. I mean, it was just amazing. It was very therapeutic for me. And I just told the story.
Another one of my chapters I like because I lived in Detroit for a while, Detroit Rock City. Dude, did you used to party with Kiss?
Dude, I'm great friends with those guys. I can't say I party with them because those guys don't party. You know, they don't. But I hung out with them a lot. We were managed by the same guy for 20 years. Doc McGee managed me and Kiss for 20 years. And so, yeah, I've got to hang out. Gene never calls me Darius. He always calls me Old Man River. And he sings it, Old Man River.
Why?
Because he says I'm a crooner. You're a crooner, man. You're a crooner.
Who else shaped your music that we wouldn't expect?
I think Kiss surprises people, how much they influenced me. Like, I was a Kiss head. I listened to all those records. I thought they were great. I think when you get into, you know, the how influenced I was by Dwight Yoakam and Newgrass Revival and Nancy Griffith and Lyle Lovett, you know, I think those people surprised how much they really influenced me as a
Was there something that you like almost left out of your book, but you decided to leave it in because it was like so personal that maybe you weren't ready to share it yet?
I bought a bunch of stuff with my brother.
Okay.
It was I almost pulled a lot of that stuff out of the book. The party and stuff, you know, I really thought, am I going to really tell the truth about that? And because you can't gloss over it. You can't really gloss. It was so big. It was so important. You can't gloss over it. So I thought about not putting that in the book, but then it's like I said when I told myself if I ever write it, I was going to tell the truth. So there it is.
Dude, when Darius Rucker gets into an Uber, what do you say when the Uber driver asks what you do for a living?
I always say I'm a musician.
You do?
Yeah.
And then you'll get into it?
Oh, there's a lot of folks I get in that don't know who I am, and so we'll start talking, and they'll be like, "What kind of music you like?" And I'll be saying, "What kind of music?" Sing, you know, I sing rock and roll some. I sing some country music. Yeah, it's usually pretty funny.
Is there a Hootie or a Darius song that you never play in your home? Like, or you cringe when you hear it on the radio? Is there anything from your past songs that you're like, man?
I think the only song that probably Old Man and Me off the second record, we recorded it. We play it so fast. We play it like a punk song, and we recorded it so slow that I can't really put that one on.
Okay. Hey, man, let's go Gamecocks. That was big, dude.
Dude, national champions, undefeated, 109-3 in the last 3 years. You know, I love to see what Coach Staley's down there building a dynasty and building it the right way. She's such a great human being.
Man, I wish they would hire you to coach something over there, man. Shit.
I'm the assistant coach of the women's golf team. You know,
there it is.
I am. That's right. I really am, actually.
The mayor of 5 Points.
Yeah.
What can you tell me you got coming up next for Darius?
You know, I'm headed to Europe to do you know, a tour, and then come back and I'm gonna do the Hootie tour, and then see what happens next year.
So when you crank it back up with the boys, is it going to be different now that you've done what you've done solo?
Oh, it's definitely different. Like when we went out in 2019, you know, we had been out in 15 years when we went out in 2019, and it was just when we had finished our tour, it was still all of us, just us, you know, touring. And this in 19, it was all families and everything. We're out on the road. Everybody had their own bus and everything. So it was a little different than back in the college days.
All right. One more, man. Last time you were here, man, I was trying to karaoke your stuff, man. I don't think I did. I wanted to try it again, man.
You have to. Right. I need this.
She sits alone by a lamppost, trying to find out all that's escaped her mind. She says, Dan's the one I love the most, but stops not far behind. Woo!
Don't quit your day job, bro.
You're the man. New song, Never Been Over, with Jennifer Nettles out. Check out everything Darius got going on in that book, baby. Read that book. That's good stuff, man. Thank you, dog.
Take care, man.
You too, man.
Peace.
All right, as a special extra on this episode, we've added in a sit-down that we had with Caylee Hammack.
You got a little candle going. You set the ambiance.
Dude, always got the ambiance going.
Ambiance.
Recently learned how to spell it. Ambiance. You ready to roll?
No, 1 second.
Oh, okay. Dude, I read that you went on like a sabbat or like overseas. Like,
Oh,
on
yeah.
a whole deal?
Yeah, so
Where?
I went, we had a UK tour, and it backed up. There was about a week or so in between that and a show in Canada. And I was like, why am I going to fly back to America just to fly out to Canada? And I was like, I love solo hiking, or just hiking in general. So I went up, I got a car in Scotland, learned how to drive on the left-hand side. I had to learn a lot of road signs on the flight from London to Glasgow. But anyways, I drove up into the Cairngorms, went past that. I went up into the Isle of Skye, and I hiked 47 miles in about 5 days just by myself. And it was the most beautiful trip I've ever been on. I would suggest it to anyone. And the Scottish people are just so friendly to tourists and hikers. And I met so many friends. And the cool thing about being a solo hiker is every time I would sit down in a pub or something for dinner, I met people. Whereas all these folks in groups, I kind of noticed everyone kind of grouped to themselves. They're going to talk to each other. And I met so many people. One night I stayed at this fancy restaurant, or not fancy restaurant, but a fancy hotel, because I was like, in the middle of this hiking trip, I need one good night with a great bathtub. So I got this little garden cabin off this hotel, and it was right on the edge of the sea. And there were these 2 young girls that worked there, and we just became friends. And then that night we hung out and drank wine and sat on the coast. And I just, I love that country music brings us around so many different people, but then sometimes just being open and showing up and starting a conversation with someone random creates a new friend too. And yeah, there's something magical about traveling solo and going into the woods by yourself.
Well, let's get into, because that inspired The Hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so give me the story behind The Hill, and like, does it all relate to what you were just saying?
Yeah, The Hill, a lot of it was inspired by Scotland and Ireland and some of my traveling through that.
So like, you literally just, what made you want to walk 47 miles? It's so far.
I love being in nature. I feel like that's where I find God, and that's where I find so much peace. I love being in a stadium. I love being in an arena. And then I need to go out in the woods by myself and think about things.
Okay.
I had a week off in between a UK tour and some shows in Canada. And I was like, you know what? Let me just stay in Scotland. So I stayed there. I learned how to drive on the left-hand side. I went up into the Cairngorms, which is the mountain region, same mountain region as the Appalachian Mountains during Pangea. So it's almost sister mountains over there. It's weird how familiar they are, but very different. And I went up into the Isle of Skye, which if you ever go to Scotland, just go to the Isle of Skye. Hiked about 47 miles in the end. And I just loved it. I read one time that Charles Dickens and Oscar Wilde would walk 10 to 12 miles a day, and that would help their writing. I don't know how they wrote without ballpoint pens and such as they were walking. Don't know if they made legal pads back then, but I don't know. I find wandering around in the woods and on these cliff sides was just so beautiful. And so when we were creating The Hill, I really wanted a part of it to be a Celtic influence because my fan base over there is so strong and so good to me. I mean, they show up. Miss Fiona shows up with shortbread every time I play in Glasgow.
Wow.
I feel like there is kind of a home of country music lovers there and fans. And so I just wanted to do something with a little Celtic influence, kind of pay homage to them and hopefully push it over there because I just want to keep going back to Scotland. Okay, I just need that to work.
That's the reason. Yeah.
I want to pop off in Egypt, Scotland. Where else do I want to travel?
Yeah. It's convenient. I like that.
Yeah.
What was it like working with John Osborne as a producer and not in Brothers Osborne?
It was incredible. So when Ashley McBryde made Lindyville, John Osborne from Brothers Osborne produced it. And randomly one day they called and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I ain't doing nothing today." And they said, "Would you like to come in? Would you play one of the characters? We need a high soprano part. Will you be one of the characters?" And I said, "I would love to be." Because I had become a fan through that record, through listening to work tapes during 2020 that Ashley would come and play around the bonfire. So I did that, and it was just so seamless working with John. And one day we were on the road together. We were sitting on the tour bus after the gig, and me and him are at the little table in the front lounge. And the thing I always say in shows is if you never ask that question that you want to ask, the answer is always going to be no.
Yeah.
The worst thing they can do is say no, but they might just say yes. And never thought Chris Stapleton would sing with me, but I asked and he said yes. Same thing with Reba and Alan Jackson. So with that said, I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? If you don't ask John, you aren't living by your words. So I just said, John, would you ever want to like produce something with me, either co-produce or you produce yourself? And he goes, I'd love to. So very weird fluke of a situation. We got together and it was kind of nice for me that I got to kind of step back from the production realm and just be the artist and not have to worry so much about the editing, but finding those certain sounds that I really loved that translated the way I wanted. And working with someone like John Osborne, he's just innately cool. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
Everything he comes up with, I'll be like, can you play this thing that's like, beep, 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 beep. And he's like, oh, yeah. And he just plays 10 times better of a version of that. And I'm like, perfect, put it on the record. So it was just a blessing. And I know that he wants to work more in production. So it was just a perfect little world where we got to make something special.
That's cool. Who inspires you daily in country music? Is there an artist that you look up to that like every day you're like, that's who I want to strive to be?
Oh, that's really hard. I think a lot of people would say Dolly or Reba just because they are immaculate storytellers, but also they're great businesswomen. And my thing is, I've always told folks that if you meet someone in someone's camp and they're really nice, the artist is probably really nice. All of that trickles down. Dierks Bentley told me that. And I think somebody I've always looked up to is Miranda Lambert. And then when I became her friend, I just fell in love with her as a person because she's just as good of a person as she is an artist. Same thing with Reba. I think that there's a lot of women specifically in this industry that I really look up to. And also, you know, an occasional Eric Church, Alan Jackson. Sometimes the boys too, but definitely Reba, Dolly, Miranda. I love them.
Okay. What artist would you like to see go country? Everybody's like crossing over now.
Lana Del Rey.
Oh.
And there was some hints that she might do country.
Okay.
But I think she's so cool.
Yeah. What would that sound like?
I don't know, but it would be sad girl country, and I'm all about it. Make me cry, make me feel something.
How many times have you written a song and you've been like, man, it's a little too personal to put out?
Oh, all the time. I remember writing Small Town Hypocrite was about the heartbreak that kind of got me to Nashville. It was my first true heartbreak. I gave up a scholarship to be with him. Found out he was running around on me with a nurse on the night shift, which is a completely different country song. But the thing is, with all of that said, it was truly about the journey to get there. And I cussed a bunch in it. And it was really just a therapy session in that writing room that day. And I sent it in, didn't think anything of it. And my team just kept getting drawn to it. And I was like, y'all, this is going to sound like, the name is Small Town Hypocrite. They're going to think I'm hating on my small town or, and I was like, they can't think I'm not grateful. And they were like, right. I think people will understand what you're trying to say. And what's really cool about that is I was the most afraid to put it out, thinking people would not like it, thinking I'm complaining or I cuss too much or it would be something too much. And the coolest thing is that that's the song I think that has connected with the most people, was the most vulnerable, the hardest song of the record to write, along with Forged in the Fire on the last record, which was about a house fire of mine. And a saying my dad used to say when I would get anxious as a child. And he would say that, you know what? The most beautiful of glass and the strongest of iron is forged in the hottest of fires. So if God's forging you in something, he's getting you ready for something, just prepare. And so going through that fire right in 2017, right before signing my record deal, starting all of this, starting to produce my first stuff and putting it out into the world, going to radio the first time. It was just a big transition period. And that song, oh man, I had to walk out of the writing room a few times to get through it. But turns out there's a lot of people that have went through either natural disasters or house fires or something that has shook the foundation of their home in their hearts.
Nate Smith. Have you spoken to Nate Smith?
I love Nate Smith. Yeah. If you don't know Nate Smith, you need to go listen to him. He is cute as a button as a human being. He sounds great. His songs are great. And I remember one time he came up to me and talked to me about Small Town Hypocrite. And I just so appreciated him. And I've seen the way he interacts with his fans too. He's just solid gold.
Yeah, he's the man.
I hope only good comes to him.
I call him Velvet Thunder.
Velvet Thunder.
Just because on one of those sheets they sent from his label, like they were like, he has a voice of Velvet Thunder. So that's how
I love it.
Velvy. Why have you not gotten a hammock sponsorship yet?
You know what? That's a good question.
Okay.
I mean, we're really missing some of the marketing here.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, with all the hiking and stuff you do, especially, like to have a Caylee hammock tied to some trees, like, you're missing out. I'm just saying.
I might have taken some pictures of my backpack and some of my gear on like top, like cliff sides and stuff and sent to my team and the people in branding at the label. And I was like, hey, so Gary, anyway, we can make this part of the thing. And then it'd be a shame if I had to go hike for press and promo. Wouldn't it be a shame?
Yeah. That teamed with, I want to go play in all these countries that I'd like to go visit. That sounds good. I like what you do there.
Small Town Hypocrite popped off in Egypt, and that I've never been more excited. I was like, do you mean one day I might get to play in Egypt?
That's awesome.
So fingers crossed they still like this new stuff.
Okay. What is your Desert Island album? You can only bring one to an island.
Ooh, now that is incredibly hard. You know what? I just saw Eric Church in his residency at Chiefs. It was incredible. And one of the things he was talking about was The Outsiders and how he was like, we took so many chances on that and we went weird. And I was cocky with all the sounds I was choosing. And I was sitting there and I was like, I'm so glad that you're cocky with the sounds you made, or the things you chose and how far you wanted to push the parameters of country music, because that record is sonically one of the most creative records and one of those that I feel like I love a record that immerses you. Chief was kind of that way. When I hear Chief, I'm on a boat in Lake Blackshear in Americus, Georgia, or Cordele, like I am there. And so when I hear The Outsiders, I've just moved to Nashville. I am hungover. I'm ordering 3 quesadillas and a Taco Bell that now isn't there on West End. And I am about to go to my right. And I feel like crap. But you know what? I am living the dream.
Wow.
So when I listen to that record, it's like, I don't know.
The one. Okay.
It's it. That would be the one.
All right. What's next for you this year? Like, when's the next album coming out and all that?
The next album is coming out at the beginning of next year. But we have the song The Hill coming and a couple others. We got one going to radio. I'm not going to say the name just yet. But I'm really excited because we put out that first record during 2020. And being able to launch a record over Zoom is a little different than getting to go play all the shows and everything and get to play this stuff to you versus just sending it out and hoping that people were listening. I lived in the comment section during 2020. They gave me life. But it's a beautiful thing that now I feel like the second record is almost my first record. I'm getting to really work it. And we're going on the road with Brothers Osborne later this summer and just playing all around and trying to get this music out. Trying to go viral online. That seems to be the way.
That's the way, right? Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, let's bring in Billy Dukes from behind the camera to talk about these interviews here. What's happening, man?
Caylee Hammack, always one of my favorites. She was a Taste of Country riser several years ago and just really kind of a joy. It seems like her musical progression has kind of advanced a little bit. She seems to have a sense of who she is now.
Yeah, definitely. She's really cool. I'm surprised she hasn't had more mainstream success, but maybe, I feel like the label that signed her real early into her 10-year town, per se, in Nashville. And I think, she has a definite crowd that comes out to see her that specifically seek her out. She's definitely developing her sound, like you're saying, for sure.
And then Darius, gosh, he's a lot of fun. There was a lot to this interview, though. His whole book and some of the stories he tells, he gets into... He's almost has some Jelly Roll confessions about some of his partying past. I was listening to some other interviews about accounts of him using cocaine and some other harder drugs while on tour with Hootie and the Blowfish. When he says party, he means partied.
Yeah, look, as Rasheed Wallace from the Detroit Pistons used to say back in the day, ball don't lie. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely been through it. and partied, and he's had a divorce. You know, there's reasons for everything, underlying reasons for everything. You know, he's got his way with women. He does his deal. I feel like he was living it up. He was in the time before social media, man. Like, think about all the stuff that Darius Rucker and the Hootie Boys were involved in, you know, that we'll never know about. All the fountains they soaped and all the danger they created and the girls that hung out. Oh, man.
Kiss was his role model, so you know that was, if that's who you look up to, you know which road you're choosing.
Yeah, I remember like riding my bike to school when Kiss was big, and my older brother was like all about it, but I was so confused because he wasn't. My older brother didn't like look like he would be into. I think everybody was into Kiss back then, and so it surprised me a little bit, though, that Darius and he were such good friends, but I didn't know the tie with the manager, so that kind of makes more sense. But it's really cool that they're such good friends.
You think if, like, I don't know, you're at the grocery store and do you think Darius would recognize you and say, "Hey, Evan, what's up?" Like, are you guys that tight, or do you think like you'd be like Darius, he'd be like, you know, the security guy would stand in between you as you
security
talked
guy? But I think if I was like said who I was, I think it would help refresh his memory.
Right.
That's what I think, but I don't know.
I never assume that like I'm that cool with an artist. Like, even if I've had the best conversation kind of over and over again, like I never think that they leave that room and think about me in any sort of way or would even recognize me later on, no matter how good it goes. Yeah,
that's kind of how I am, you know, and like it's weird because my neighbors and like other people will be like, you know, like, how's Jelly Roll doing? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't text them. Like, I can't really get a hold of them. So, I don't think that I don't know. But that I don't know.
Someone texted me just the other day, a guy I used to work with, and he's like, "Hey man, do you have Chris Jansen's phone number? I gotta get it. I want to shoot him a text and ask him." So I'm like, no, I don't have Chris Jansen's phone number. But B, if I did, I'm not gonna just go pass it to you for some random one-off kind of question about whatever you got. Yeah, sure. Let me just forward that along. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, there are some artists. So like Nate Smith is an artist that I don't know. Like one time at the end of an interview, he was like, "Text me anytime, Evan." And but I don't like have his number. So like,
yes,
I'm like, I can't text this guy. So at the end of the day, like, I don't know. They got their own deal going on, but there's artists. I will say this: there's artists that I've talked to so many times that are so good with people that I feel like if I saw, if I saw a Jason Aldean or a Lainey Wilson or a Jelly Roll, I do think that maybe, I don't know. They wouldn't like see me and stop me and be like, "Oh, hey." But I think if I walked up to him and I was like, "Jelly Roll, what's up, man? You remember me?" I feel like it's possible.
Jelly Roll, maybe. I don't think Aldean for sure, even though you've talked to him a lot. And Lainey, I don't know. I don't quite have a feel for her yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I'll say, I mean, I remember back in the day I would do interviews and they'd be a great interview. It's like I were getting off the phone or whatever. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be at the concert." They're like, "Oh yeah, come on back and say hi." I'm like, "All right, I will." And then I get off the phone. I'm like, How do I do that exactly?
Yeah,
I can't just go on back.
Yeah, I think it's like it's like the artist's way of being like, "Talk to you later," you know?
Right.
But
yes,
there's some artists that you really would like to take them up on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be kind of cool.
So we got a few scoops from this Darius Rucker interview. One was that Gene Simmons calls him Old Man River.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great story.
That was classic, yeah.
Had long legs on the website, tastedcountry.com. A lot of people interested in that nickname story.
Oh, yeah.
This one wasn't as big of a deal, but I thought super interesting that he has a side hustle as the coach assistant coach of the women's golf team at University of South Carolina.
Yeah, so we verified that. I messaged the athletic director there, and they said that he is indeed an honorary assistant coach, and he's very involved with the women's golf team there, as is he runs his own golf tournament out of there and performs there every year. So I hadn't heard that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Do you think he's getting a paycheck?
No, I don't think he's getting a paycheck. I don't think so.
You think he's doing it just for free? You don't think that he's requiring? I think he probably is, and if I was USC, I'd want to pay him to make sure he stays committed.
No, I think he's pretty committed. I think he's pretty committed to USC. I don't think they pay him. I don't think. You think so?
Yes, I think they pay him. And in fact, I think they probably pay him a lot because his face means a lot to that program. They can recruit. They better be paying him. Like, they can recruit off of him, right? Like, come play at USC. We got this guy Hootie is our assistant golf coach. This is who we are. Yeah, I think they probably.
Yeah,
they better be.
Yeah.
And Darius is smart enough to realize that. Like, he knows what he's worth.
Okay, all right. I see the side. I see that side of it. I see it.
Salary.com reports that an assistant golf coach at a university usually makes about $50,000.
All right, so I mean they're paying for his nachos,
Basically his room and board, I guess.
Yeah, I mean he's got so much money, like $50,000 to him is gas station money.
Maybe he doesn't though. He just had a divorce. He's got half of a lot of money now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
And he's paying alimony. Man's got bills. He's got to take it easy. Now he's got this record, this memoir. He's got a side hustle. I mean, all these is lining up as Darius knows he needs to sort of refuel the old bank account a little bit. I'm not saying he's going to be out there on the street hustling, but he's not done working is all it means.
That's fair. The only person that's still successful after a half-split divorce is Bezos. Jeff Bezos.
True, but that's a different stratosphere.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of deal. And who was it that got a divorce and they had a prenup? Oh, Kevin Costner, I believe. He got out of his divorce pretty cheap.
I feel like if you, as cliche as it is to say, I feel like if you have a prenup, it's gonna be used. So I don't know.
100%.
It stinks, but that's the real deal.
Next time Darius comes in, Darius, so did you have a prenup? Are you that cool with him yet?
Yeah, I'll slide a piece of paper to him and just say, "Hey, write down the amount here."
Right.